And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. I'm your host, Justin. Today, let's talk about personal finances. But let's get a little personal today. How are your finances? Are you in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s? How are they doing personally? You say, well, Justin, man, I'm rocking it out. I'm living the dream. I have tons of cash flow. Great. What's your net worth statement look like? Well, that's a little personal. Exactly. That's what we want to do today. We want to talk about how the life of a business owner can often wreck our personal finances if we're not careful. You really can. You know, I often quote the statistic by the Exit Planning Institute that says 80% of our business, 80% of our net worth as business owners is tied up in our business. This one single asset class, which is highly illiquid, but yet if we look at our financial statements, it consists of the majority of our net worth. Well, Justin, that's not me. Well, then you're in a minority, friend, and I want to give you a virtual fist bump right now. Stick your hand out. Boop, there it is. Sounds like an old song. Whoop, there it is. You see, as business owners, we're often so worried about growing our business and making it as good as it can possibly be. You know, we want our baby to be pretty, right? That we cause much harm to our personal finances. And I want to dig into this today. Have you ever thought, man, my life as a business owner has wrecked my personal finances? You probably haven't. That's not the way we think. You know, what we think is this. We see opportunity out everywhere around us. We see it everywhere. In fact, if we had more money, we could make more money. You're like, dude, that's right, because that's how we entrepreneurs and business owners think. In fact, we're so confident that our business is really the best place to pour revenue or pour our cash that we reinvest our hard-earned dollars back into this asset class. Like I mentioned on a past episode, I think we'd be surprised if we ran a return on equity calculation for our business. It's many times as business owners, it does not provide the same return that even a basic exchange-traded fund or a mutual fund that's in a U.S. equity position could return. We're very surprised about that. But how do we get ourselves into this mess? This mess that one day we wake up and we're like, dude, I'm up the creek without a paddle. I'm in trouble. I'm 60 years old. I'm 50 years old. I'm 70 years old. How about this one? I'm 80 years old and I still have to work. Now, friends, I don't know about you, but that is not the goal that I have for my life. I want to bust it. Trust me. I want to build an empire. I want to build an empire that impacts as many business owners with sound financial planning decisions that are biblically based, that we can create wealth and create comfort and create stability and create a lot of things for our team, for our clients, for our vendors, for our customers, and for ourselves. That's what I want to do. And I know that's your desire. That's the desire of almost every business owner we work with. We want to excel. But yet, if we're not careful, we're going to wake up one day in a mess. And we get there several ways. It could be the fact that you left yourself vulnerable. You left yourself vulnerable that you ran as a sole proprietorship, a sole prop. And you're operating a trade business, an active business, and somebody has sued you and they pierced the corporate veil. And now you're personally liable and you have no protection from the little bit of assets that you've moved outside the business that you've been able to amass. There's no protection on your personal finances compared to the business. Man, that's a dangerous place to be in. I've actually seen that happen with individuals where their business gets into trouble, whatever reason, and now their net worth has decimated because they were never properly prepared. Maybe it's the fact that you use personal lines of credit to subsidize the business through lean times. I've seen this a lot, and got to be honest with you, there's many times in my career where I've used personal assets to subsidize the business. I mean, heck fire, 2020. I saw a lot of business owners do this. Q2 2020, man, I took it on the teeth. I got hit as hard as you can, square in the mouth in Q2 of 2020. And so many other business owners did too. And what do we do when that happens? Yeah, sure, we exhaust our lines of credit in the business, or we pull our cash positions down to nothing. But yet, before you know it, we're having to subsidize our business with our personal finances. That little bit of cash that we've taken out of the business and we pulled away just in case the business one day tanks or something happens, all of a sudden we take our personal cash and we throw it back in the business. because our business is first, right? And thus we end up in a mess. Or perhaps you've done this. Perhaps you are guaranteeing a loan personally, a personal guarantee. It's not uncommon. I've done it. You've done it. In fact, I still have some personal guarantee notes, and I have some that are not. What happens? We want to grow something, so we use debt. We want to move into a new space, so we use some debt. We want to buy a new piece of equipment, so we use debt. And before you know it, we have them to sign a personal guarantee because the lending institution realizes there's really no value in this company. And if you default, they can't go after a company because there's nothing there. So they want to make sure that you, the owner of the company, is personally liable. And thus, something happens, and once again, our personal finances are at bay of this thing we call a business. Maybe it's the fact that cash flow ends up just kicking us, just eating our lunch. You know, the fact that 82% of businesses fail because of cash flow reasons. The lack of cash flow, just pure lack of cash flow, is mesmerizing to me. Maybe it's because you're in a business that has unbalanced cash flow. I remember my early days as a landscape entrepreneur. I had unbalanced cash flow. Even in warm South Georgia, we had times in the summertime when it rained. I mean, we had tons of cash coming in. Then the winter times, it wasn't so good. I'm thinking of a little water park in my hometown, Jekyll Island, Georgia, called Summer Waves. And 4, 5, 6 months out of the year, it's rocking. The other 6, 7 months out of the year, it's not. It's too cold. I was at a ski resort this last weekend with my family, and it's hard to ski during the summertime, and so they're not making as much money as they are in the wintertime. It's unstable cash flow. Maybe that's you. But many times, the cash flow problems cause harm to our personal finances because we're not quite prepared in our business. So once again, we subsidize the business. I referenced a book here recently called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's one of my favorite books, written by George Clausen. And it's talking about a very interesting principle. And here's the one principle. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. I was reviewing Dave Ramsey's baby steps this last week for a client and actually walking them through Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. It's a young client, and yeah, we're going to be able to help them. But I wanted them to just see how simple finances can be. And even in Dave Ramsey's position, he says, yeah, get out of debt. Take care of all your unsecured debt, then start saving 15% of your income before you try to drastically pay down your house. He even has this concept, pay yourself first before you try to knock out other assets. So how do we protect ourselves? At whatever age we are, maybe we're in our 30s and we're dealing with our personal finances in our 30s, or maybe we're in our 40s and we're looking at our personal finances for the first time. I can remember when a seasoned, I call him an old feller, a seasoned client, we could give him a hard time. He and I are just like to joke and jive back and forth. And he said, son, before you know it, you're going to wind up age 60. You better be prepared. Time flies. Tempus fugit, as the old Latin term says. So how is it that we protect our personal finances from our business? Number 1, make an entity. Create a legal and separate entity for your business. Yeah, I get that it's easy for us to run as sole props. I get it. It's easy. Filing a Schedule C, simple as can be. But you want to put yourself in a position where you're not personally liable for your business effects, for your business activities. And so incorporating your business, forming the right entity within your local jurisdiction is to me, one of the very first things you can do. Number 2, build an emergency fund. I know I talk about this all the time, and the more I talk about it, the more rebuttal I get that, hey, we don't need that much cash. Up until COVID hit. And COVID taught us an unbelievable lesson that, hey, cash is still king. It does work. Imagine if you had 3 to 6 months of cash, of expenses set back, under the expenses of your business, expenses of your personal finances, and COVID 2.0 hit, and there was a mandatory shutdown in your business just like there was a year ago. You'd be in a far different area. You wouldn't be relying upon PPP or EIDL or HHS or any of these other types of government regulation loans, et cetera, that was provided. No, you'd be in a position where we could weather the storm. So build an emergency fund. If you don't know how to do it, I've written lots of things about it on the Financially Simple podcast and the blog. Take a look at it. Go to financiallysimple.com. Just put in emergency fund. I've got tons of ways on how you can do it. I even talk about a monthly out-of-sight expense on how you can build up a cash position. Number 3, we're trying to protect ourselves, our personal finances from our business. Number 3, make sure you have the right amount of insurance coverage and the correct insurance coverage is in place to protect you from your business. You see, if you don't have the right insurances, all it's going to take is one lawsuit. All it's going to take is one catastrophe. And before you know it, your personal finances are once again at bay. And so we need to protect our person from our business. Number 4, don't sacrifice your retirement savings. Now, I get that that's a kind of a two-edged statement. I want to unpack that a little bit. You know, most of us would say, well, Justin, my business is my retirement savings. I get it. I get it. But I want to separate this. I spent a lot of time talking about the wealth gap and how we business owners often view our business as that thing that's going to push us over the edge for our retirement. Guys, I got to tell you, I sit down with 50 and 60-year-olds on a regular basis. And compared to their non-business owner counterparts, they are dismal in their retirement savings. They are nowhere near where they need to be. In fact, I have people say, I'm just not going to save for retirement. I'm going to put everything in my business. And I'm like, man, my daddy taught me a long time ago not to carry all your eggs in one basket. So I want you to look at this. If you properly diversify your income and you place the money back in retirement accounts, many times these retirement accounts are off limit to creditors. They are there for bankruptcy protection. If you run into a problem in your business and you find yourself running into a retirement issue or running into a credit issue, many times, again, regulations work depending on what type of account, but many times they're off limits to creditors. The second thing is that retirement is not a get-rich-quick thing, especially when you're using retirement plans. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to invest money and see a really fast turnaround on my cash. I love to buy a new piece of equipment and see how that new piece of equipment can instantly provide me more cash flow. I love that. And if we're not careful, we business owners forget the fact that compounding interest is, as one person said, the eighth wonder of the world. We forget the fact that building retirement plans is more like a marathon than a sprint. I was talking with a prospective client the other day who called our company, and they said, Justin, we need some help. Well, I was looking at their personal finances, and I asked them a question. I said, let me ask you the question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank your personal net worth right now? Compared to however you want to compare it to, how would you rank it? Would you do an ABC? Would you do a 1 through 10? They said, Justin, I'd be honest with you, I'm probably a C or a D if I were grading it using the alphabet tile grading that we do through school, or I'd probably be around a 3 or 4. And I said, why is that? And he said, I don't know. And I said, I can tell you why. It's the fact that you don't trust anybody and you want to be in complete control. And personal finances is often out of control for us business owners. So I got to tell you, man, you can't sacrifice on your retirement savings. You're 30 years old, start now. Start now. Do some basic things. I don't mind telling you what I want to do every year. Every year I want me and Miss Emily to max out our 401ks. That means $19,500 a piece that we can put into our 401ks. I want to put another $6,000 a piece into our Roth IRAs. And I want to fully fund our HSA. Guys, that's a fair amount of cash. That's $40,000 roughly going in out of our income into our 401ks, another $12,000. So we're at $52,000, another $7,000, $7,100. So let's call it roughly almost $60,000 going back into savings before we even live our lifestyle. That's what my goal is every single year. You're like, Justin, man, you must make a ton of money. No, I personally don't take a lot of money out of the company. Why? Because I'm an entrepreneur, just like you. I believe that the more money I can invest back in the company, the greater the value of the company can be, but not to the retirement detriment. You see, if all I can do is just put in $60,000 a year into my retirement savings for the next 10, 15 years, man, I'm golden. Why? Because compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, as it's been said. I don't have to make 20, 30, 40% return on that little bit of money. I can use boring Wall Street and slow money methodologies to hedge against the fact that, you know what, one day my business may not sell. So I need to have a backup plan. So don't sacrifice your retirement. Okay, I'm off that soapbox. Number 5, keep your debt to a minimum. I hate debt. I've told you that many times. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. In fact, I abhor debt. It just drives me crazy. Well, Justin, why is that? I don't know. Maybe Dave Ramsey's rubbed off on me too much. Maybe it's the fact that I've seen how debt can devastate families. Maybe it's the stress that goes with. I don't know. I just don't like debt. But I see where there's times that debt does make sense. I get it. Well, Justin, that's talking out both sides of your mouth. Yeah, I do that often. Have you ever argued with yourself? I do that regularly. I argue with myself. Regardless of where you stand on debt, whether you view it as an opportunity to leverage yourself or as your position that, hey, no debt is the best way to go, you need to keep your debt to a minimum. The higher the debt, the more likelihood of risk that you have where your personal finances are at risk. And so I'm a firm believer that if we can keep our debt to a minimum. Now, I'm not saying never to use debt. Hear me out. I'm not saying that. There's a time. I know that you might be able to buy a business using debt. I know you might be able to buy a piece of real estate that your business is in. Rental properties, for example. I know how cash-on-cash returns work, guys. I'm not dumb. You know that about me. I just can't stand debt. So let's keep our debt to a minimum. And with that, let's hear a little bit from this week's sponsor.
One day you will retire, and when you do, you will need the money made from the sale of your business to be added to your financial egg basket. In the book, The Ultimate Sale by Justin Goodbread, he discusses how your business is valued along with ways to increase that value until that day you decide to step away. To download a sample of The Ultimate Sale, go to financiallysimple.com/sample.
So as we're looking at this very fact that as business owners, we often have horrible personal finances. Let's bring it back to the initial issue. What are you going to do today to change the trajectory of your life? It's been said where you'll be 5 years from now is determined by the books you read and the people you associate with today. And I'm honored you spent a little bit of time with me in this. It's also been said that where we are at today is directly correlated to the decisions we made in the last 5 years. Friends, 5 years from now, how old will you be? What change do you want to see in your personal finances? Unless you are purposeful in preventing your personal finances from being a wreck, just a mess, you're going to find yourself 5 years from now no better off. Maybe you have more revenue flowing into your life. Maybe your business is just great in 5 years. But unless you're purposefully building your personal finances, we're going to wake up one day as business owners, like so many people I talk with, and realize, oh my goodness, I don't have enough money to retire. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to continue to work. Oh my goodness, my business is not worth what I thought it was, and therefore I'm going to have to change my lifestyle. Oh my goodness. And the list goes on and on and on. So look, I get it. Believe it or not, this is not an uncommon issue for business owners. I see this day in, day out, every single day. I hear it every single day. Doesn't have to be this way. My challenge to you is do something about it. Hire a consultant. Reach out to the company here. We can help you. This is what we do. We're good at it. I like to say we teach business owners how they can double their net worth every 3 to 5 years. I know how to do this. I have personally experienced this in my life. Now, it's not a promise. I can't guarantee that we're going to do that. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, but you can do this. So look, friends, I realize life is hard. I get it. And I realize that personal finances is like, we don't want to talk about it. I get it. And as business owners, we don't even look at it. We're stressed enough as it is with our business. But let me just once again plead with you, beg you, get on my knees if I have to, whatever it takes, and say, let's stop. Let's change the narrative. Let's pay ourselves first. Let's position ourselves where our personal finances are not a wreck. Let's position ourselves where we as business owners can have financial peace. There is a way to do it. If you need help, reach out to us. Look, friends, I realize life is hard and life is frustrating. Money, it doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Let's go out and make it an awesome day. This tip is for informational purposes only. Please speak with a competent financial advisor regarding your specific needs. Justin Goodbread is a registered investment advisor with Heritage Investors. Visit heritageinvestor.com, financiallysimple.com for additional information.